cold start. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now in today's video we're finally putting the last finishing touches on what I want to do to this motor. Besides like a cam, but that's a maybe. But definitely like a for sure thing. We are finally doing the finishing touches, and that is we are going to be installing our Steeda Underdrive pulleys. Now before we get into this, I explained it in a previous video, but I will explain it again as to why I chose Steeda over any other brand. Now before I get into this, I'm not dissing any of these brands. You know, these brands do make good quality parts. They're not, you know, there are brands that are more affordable, don't get me wrong. But when it comes to quality and something that I know for a fact will not affect my drivability in any negative way, and something that I know I can trust, I'm choosing Steeda, especially with these Underdrive pulleys, because the difference between Steeda and just about every other brand out there is Steeda is not a piggyback system. And what I mean by that is your Underdrive crank pulley. Now, most of them, it's just a pulley, and you have to bolt it to your stock harmonic balancer. Now, yeah, it's a little simpler, but the thing is, that affects your drivability. They are known to not hold that well, and they're known to actually rob you of power, and they're known to... some people have said it feels like something's grinding once they've put this new, another brand's pulley on. That was a piggyback system. And plus, I mean, yeah, sure, you can put on a lightweight pulley, but this harmonic balancer, I mean, this thing, you know, it's pretty heavy. It's not light by any means. And the harmonic balancer, you know, even if you put a lightweight pulley on, the harmonic balancer that's on here is guaranteed heavier than this. I know that for a fact. And it's what's it gonna do? Sure, you have a light pulley, but with this heavy harmonic balancer spinning, you're not gonna really see many gains. I mean, you might see a little bit from the water pump and alternator pulley, but you're not gonna see nothing from the crank, and that's gonna be a huge factor when it comes to getting your power. Now, before we get into this, let me just say I've never installed Underdrive pulleys before. So I don't know what's going to be involved in this. I don't know if we're going to have to get any tools or nothing. The few pulleys that I have swapped on this car, I've never needed a tool. Well, I swapped my AC compressor, clutch, and pulley. Probably should have used a tool for that, but instead I just used a pry bar and then a hammer to smack it on. Probably shouldn't have done that, but you know what? It is what it is. I'm definitely going to have to replace it though, because it's going bad again. But I have never changed like an alternator pulley or a crank pulley, at least not on this specific engine. So I don't know what it's going to entail. Like I said, you're learning with me just as I'm learning. The first things first is, while we have the belt on, let's utilize it. We are going to be loosening our alternator nut, and then our 4 water pump nuts. Now for the alternator one, I would definitely recommend using an impact if you can. But the water pump one, they're fairly small bolts, so you should be able to just use a ratchet. And I believe it looks like a 10 millimeter. I don't know what size this is, but for that one down there, you shouldn't need an impact. You could just use a swivel wrench or even a ratchet. So for this alternator, it's actually a 24. Now I'm going to avoid moving this out of the way if I don't have to, and I don't think I'll have to. I don't know, this might slip off, but either way, you're gonna have to use an impact unless you figure out a way to secure that pulley down, because using like a breaker bar or a long ratchet, it's just gonna spin the pulley. The belt doesn't have enough tension to hold it. Okay, well, that was easy. Now we can take our ratchet. See, it's loose on there, and I can freely spin it now, which is exactly what we needed. We might have to get a pulley remover. I don't know. I hope, if we need to, I hope my local auto parts store has one in stock. If not, we are screwed. But now you can just take your 10 millimeter and wait, that's righty tighty. And break that one loose. you don't got too much room to work with here. So this might be a little bit of a struggle. Now that we have our alternator nut loose and our 4 water pump bolts loose, we can move on to removing the serpentine belt, because we don't need the belt to be on for the crank, because we're gonna have to use an impact anyways. So if you guys have a serpentine belt tool, honestly that's your best bet. But if not, for this car you will need a 3/8 ratchet or a breaker bar. I can't remember if this will work or not. I don't remember if I'm able to actually use this tool or not, or if I have to use a ratchet. I can't remember, so we're gonna try here. We might be able to do it, we might not. Actually, I'm gonna throw here we go, tiny little extension. And now let's get this thing off. Now that we got that off, we can finish removing our nut and our bolts, and we can actually take these pulleys off the car. I am usually the type to keep a belt on, just for simplicity's sake, but for this, it is not going to be that simple. I mean, it's a relatively simple thing to do, putting underdrive pulleys on a car. It's nothing like crazy, but normally I'm the kind of guy that says keep the belt on, just that way you don't gotta reroute it, you know, once you're done. But I truly, for this, I recommend getting it completely out of your way. It's just one less thing that's going to cause you a headache. And while you have it off, might as well look at it and make sure there's no cracks. Nothing major wrong with the belt. This belt appears to be fine. It sometimes squeaks, so we might get a new one, I don't know. But we're just going to drape that there. And now it turns out for this alternator, we're probably, I have been fighting with this thing and it's just now coming loose. I have been fighting with that. And I'm like, oh, well, we're gonna need a pulley remover. Nope. Guess now once I actually hit record, it comes right off. I was thinking about putting on an Edelbrock water pump, but the thing is, as far as I know, mine's fine. Should be fine, I hope. If not, you know, we will always have to order a new one, and then we'll just have to make a part 2 to this. But it should be fine. After putting in the thermostat and after putting on the hoses and completely decking out the cooling system, it has not overheated on me once. It's not even ran hot. So as far as I know, my water pump should be good. We'll look for any damage. Cause I don't know when the last time this thing's been replaced. It looks kind of old. So we'll look for any damage here, and we'll make sure that it's not bad, because this is gonna suck if we put a pulley on and then something messes up and then we gotta take it off and do it all over again. Oh, I dropped that, nice. But now, oh, I dropped that too. But off with our water pump pulley. But now, for manual transmission cars, in order to remove your crank pulley, you're gonna wanna get in here and just put that into first gear. So that way the transmission's holding the crank in place, it's holding it all in place, and it won't spin. In order to remove that harmonic balancer, you have to get the bolt and washer out of the way. And it'll move on you a little bit, even with it in first gear. So really your best bet is just using an impact to ugga-dugga it off, because it's also, you know, it's torqued in pretty good. And now, actually, I didn't think of this. We need to get a harmonic balancer puller, and I hope my local Advanced Auto Parts has one. So we're gonna actually run and go get one. I'll buy one. I'm not gonna bother renting one. I'll just buy one, so that way we have it for future use. And we're also gonna have to get a little bit of RTV gasket maker, because that's what you put on the bottom here just to prevent any sort of leaking. Well, I'll get into that later when we get into the install process. But I'm going to run to the store, and I hope that they have at least one in stock. I always see them, and, you know, something's always been telling me I should buy one, but I'm like, nah, I don't need one. I don't need one. Yeah, I didn't. I completely forgot you need a pulley remover to remove those harmonic balancers. So I'll run to the store. I'll be back. Thankfully, our local auto parts store had one.
All right, I don't know how well you guys can see this, but pretty much this is what it will look like. Here, let me see if I can turn the... Oh, there we go, that's better. Okay, so this is what it'll look like once it's all done. Obviously, like I said, the screws or the bolts that go into the harmonic balancer are 12 millimeters, at least for our kit. And I ran them in, you know, nothing crazy. And obviously, if it's going in really tight, you're going to want to back it out and try it again. But I put it in 3 or 4, you know, decent rotations. And then the end piece right here, that spins the end piece right there, that is a 19 millimeter. And what that's going to do is it's going to push, or it's going to pull on these 3 screws, and it's going to slowly pull it out. Now make sure that this is even, you know, make sure it's not out of, you know, at like a crooked angle or anything, because you can seriously mess your crank up if you don't do this right. You know, your piece that goes on the end, like I said, my kit only came with 1, and thankfully it fit. But if yours doesn't fit, don't do it. Like it is very easy to mess up your crank by pulling this off, and if you have the wrong tool, you can seriously mess it up. So like I said, guys, don't cut corners when it comes to this. Do it the right way. You trust me, it's so much more worth it in the long run. And here is what our finished product will look like. It definitely took a little bit. Also, you know, it kind of sucked with, because like the crank wants to move a little bit. So you're gonna get some play till eventually it stops moving. Then you can just turn it. I actually had plenty of room, at least because I have an aftermarket fan shroud, so it's really thin. So I had plenty of room. I could have used a ratcheting wrench or maybe even a ratchet, but it's all good. Either way, we got it out. All right, skip a few days. I had to go buy a tool. This is the good old Harbor Freight Special, and this is an electronic 1/2 inch torque wrench. Now, the reason I had to go buy this nice electric 1/2 inch torque wrench is because the final steps for, oh, well, that's cool, my laptop disconnected. The final steps for installing our new harmonic balancer is, the torquing sequence is we have to torque it to 67 foot-pounds, back it off a whole rotation, then torque it to 37 foot-pounds, and, oh, excuse me, and then we have to turn it an extra 90 degrees. Now, I do not have a tool that can measure degrees like that, and I figured, well, this would be a good opportunity to buy myself an electric torque wrench, because most of these, once it's done here, can measure in, well, I gotta set it down on a flat surface, otherwise it'll just keep blinking at me. There we go. I'll set that there for a second. But these torque wrenches can measure in degrees, and we gotta do an extra 90-degree rotation. And now this has a memory, so say if we're cranking on it and we don't have enough room to finish it, we can always just back it up and it'll keep going. It's not going to lose its track. And that's going to be great for underneath this engine, because I don't know how well we're going to be able to get this long torque wrench underneath there to turn it. I don't know how well it's going to work. I have tried, and there's really no good way of recording what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to kind of walk through step by step. So the first thing what you're going to need is you're going to need some ultra red high temp gasket maker, and you're going to put a dot on the inside. You'll see a keyhole, and you're going to put a dot on the inside in the keyhole. And obviously do the inside, so that way when you press it on, it'll spread and it'll stop from leaking. And make sure, guys, you guys don't have to buy a tool. There is in fact a supplied bolt that will work just as fine. Just remember, do not use this bolt to tighten it all the way down. You will mess up your crankshaft. It's not meant to be, this bolt is not meant to be tightened down. It is too long. Use your stock bolt, use your stock washer, it'll be fine. Just use this bolt just to get it started. Obviously put it through the washer, and then just use this to get it started, and once it's on there good enough, take out the old, or the one that they send you, and put in your original one. And lastly, you're going to follow your torque sequence. I will have the instructions from Steeda in the description below that you guys can follow along with if you need be. The 96 and 97 specs, or the instructions, is torque to 116 to 121 foot-pounds, but for the 98 to 03, I don't know why it doesn't say 04, you torque to 66 foot-pounds, you loosen the bolt a full turn, then torque it to 37 foot-pounds, and then tighten the bolt an additional 90 degrees. That's why we had to buy that, so we can get the proper 90-degree measurement. Now on automatic transmission cars, to prevent the engine from turning, hold the torque converter. and you can access that through the plug hole in the transmission. But we have a manual, so we don't got to worry about that. It's still in first gear. It won't move around too much. It won't affect us that much. But all right, guys. So from here, I'm gonna put some high temp gasket maker on, and we're going to get it started, and then I will come back and show you guys in a second once it's on there and what it'll look like. One more thing before I forget, make sure you guys buy a new bolt. This thing's torque to yield. And also, I'm done messing with this thing. This video was supposed to be up last week, but I still cannot, make sure it's the same. Okay, I still cannot figure out a way to get that harmonic balancer to not move and turn the engine, so that way I can tighten this thing. So I have a lot better solution. I've talked to a few very experienced mechanics, and they all told me to do the exact same thing. Take your impact and ugga-dugga it on there. The one guy goes, I've been working on cars for over 30 years, and I have never once torqued a harmonic balancer, especially on these 4.6s. So if you can figure out a way to follow the torque sequence, then by all means, go ahead and do it. But we're relying on Old Faithful here.
Blue Loctite. Or red, whatever you prefer. I have blue, so we're using blue.
Put a nice trail on it. There we go. Once again, before we install our pulley, make sure you put a little bit of blue Loctite on the bolts. And then for us to really tighten this down, we're gonna get it snug, and then once we put the belt on, we'll actually like really crank it down, because I don't have an electric 3/8 ratchet. So you want to take your new fancy Underdrive alternator pulley, make sure it's on there good. You might have to wiggle it. Yep, there we go. Now it's on there good. You know, push it in, make sure it's all good, and then take a little bit of blue Loctite just for safety measure and put a little bit on the threads, just a little. You don't need a lot for this one. Take your nut, get it on there decent. And then, just like what we're doing with all the other bolts, just send it. Okay, so now that we got the belt on, you can finish ugga-duggaing down your nuts. I don't believe there's a specific torque spec for the alternator or the water pump. Pretty much you're just gonna wanna snug it down. I did record me actually tightening these, but turns out I took a picture instead of record, so. With the water pump, since it's a 4-bolt pattern, you're gonna wanna make sure you do it in a cross pattern. Tighten it down, you know, tighten them all down good in the cross pattern, and then snug them. It doesn't have to be nothing crazy. I mean, those are fairly small bolts. And then for the alternator, I don't believe there is a spec for this either, but just make sure that it's seated all the way and make sure it doesn't hit or grind on anything. Man, this thing hasn't started in a couple weeks, so cold start. I need to tighten up the exhaust a little bit. When I replaced the clutch in this car, I must not have tightened this side all the way because it's sputtering really bad. But other than that, our pulleys are straight. They're not doing none of this, nothing like that. They're all running pretty straight for the most. Yeah, they're all running straight. I'm gonna let this run for a while, just let oil cycle through the engine, because I haven't ran this thing in a while. But other than that, I think we're good to go. Man, this thing stinks up the garage. I had put the fan on to try to blow it all out. But that is going to wrap it up for our Underdrive pulley install. Hopefully it doesn't take you 2 weeks like how it has for me. I mean, granted, I've had to work. I've had to, you know, clear out this mess because I came out and the snow had drifted so high it was to the top of my Honda windows. Hopefully I won't have this thing for too much longer. I got a few things in store, but you know, the way life's going, I can't spoil anything I don't want to. Only a few people know what I'm getting. But the thing is, I just ran into a roadblock because, you know, people hold stuff for you. And, you know, you figure, okay, they're going to hold it for me. I mean, obviously I wasn't expecting no month, but I would have been to go pick up this vehicle by the end of this week. But of course, today, you know, it's stupid stuff like that. If you're going to hold a vehicle for somebody, follow through with it and hold it. So, I don't know. I might be getting a new vehicle to replace this. I might not. I don't know yet. But I'm going to definitely keep you guys updated. All I know is that if I'm able to, you guys are going to love, I mean, absolutely love the new vehicle that I'm going to get. Another thing that I wanted to address is everybody's been commenting, you know, where's the EGR check engine light fix at? I'm seriously, I have been so busy, and then with this being apart, I couldn't do anything until I get this back together. But I literally have everything you need in the shed, which is also buried by like 3 feet of snow. But I have everything that's needed. I just have not had the time to record it. But I can promise you guys that it is coming up very, very soon. Trust me, I hate having the check engine light myself. It sucks. It's annoying. I have to clear the codes every time I start it up. But, you know, just have a little bit of patience with me. I promise I'm working as fast as possible to try and get that video out to you guys. And back on the channel topic, hopefully, guys, 2021's a better year. Because as far as I can say right now, there's a lot of big things planned. The Mustang's going to be around for a while. I could guarantee that. But there's going to be some other stuff in between. I can't spoil much. But all I can say is just stay tuned, guys, because this year is going to be a good one. But now after this, with the Mustang series, what we have next to do is the bodywork. And I'm ordering suspension parts as we go, just because it's very pricey, and especially if I'm buying another vehicle, maybe two, you know. It's pretty pricey to try to map everything out, especially with my age and what I make at my full-time job. So I'm trying, so please bear with me on that. But in the meantime, the next part of this, we are going to fix the cancer spots, as people call them. We're gonna have to remove this. I'm also gonna get new stickers made, but we have to remove this, remove the scoops, remove the side skirts, remove the trunk lid, remove the bumper, remove the taillights, and then just get to sanding. I gotta buy some respirator stuff just because I really don't want to be breathing in all that. And if you're doing body work, get an actual like 3M respirator, or at least something that is meant for it. Don't wear a mask. Don't wear a bandana. I mean, that's just stupid. I mean, the amount of junk you are inhaling in your lungs is just awful. So just do the right thing and make sure you wear your proper PPE. But enough of me rambling on and sounding like a shop teacher. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. We are close to 200. As of right now, it is 190. We are so close to 200. Please help me hit 200 before the end of February. Help me, you know, leap into the next milestone. I mean, this channel is just growing great. We are having amazing numbers. You know, and I seriously couldn't thank you guys enough. You guys are the only reason that this is possible. Please continue to hit the like button. Share this with your friends. Share this with your family. Subscribe. All of that goes such a long way, and I seriously couldn't thank everyone enough. Please stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned to the channel. We have a lot of amazing things coming up. I can guarantee you that. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a good night.